Hello everyone and welcome to Teresa's Spot for Art and our Winter Chapel tutorial. I'm going to show you how to get your tracer onto your canvas if you have purchased the digital download. If you have the kit, you already have your pre-traced canvas and you can fast forward through the beginning. I have my 11 by 14 canvas and I've taped on my tracers. A piece of graphite paper, and I'll tell you guys a secret. This graphite paper, you can let me turn you guys around and I'm going to show you how simple it is to get our drawing to our surface. And I've shown you guys other ways. If you were so inclined and you didn't have graphite paper, you can take a regular pencil and scribble behind the design. It is very time consuming. You can see that there. It's very time consuming, but if you scribble behind the whole entire design and then lay it down and trace over it, you will be able to transfer your design. Like I said, it takes a little bit of time and patience, but it does work. Now, for something like this, you could hand draw it. This is a pretty simple design. Some of mine you can't necessarily hand draw, but this one I think you could. So I'm going to slip this under here. I use what we call the hinge method, which I've actually learned from being a vinyl person. I have this taped down. It's not going to move. I slipped this paper underneath it, and now I'm just going to trace it. I'm not using a ruler. I'm not going to be all jammed up about it being perfectly straight. This is for fun. This is for fun and relaxation. If you prefer, you can get a ruler. I don't mind. You can get a ruler and you can do all your straight lines with a ruler. I choose not to, but it's your art, your way. Oh, the door. So I just gave a little peek. That's why it's good to have the hinge, because then you can just lay it back down. And voila. So, I believe I have everything on there. Yes, I do. So I am going to put my tracer away. I have a couple of brushes, liner brush, always have a liner brush. And then, you guys, I told you, if you had a knife, a fork, and a spoon, we are going to use 2 of these. I'm not going to tell you which 2, but we're going to use 2 of these. And I also have a palette knife, because this background takes palette knife art. But I'm going to show you how you can utilize these. Oh yeah, the object definitely gets bigger. I'm going to show you how you can utilize these too. And to tell you the truth, I do use the fork when I do painting, but not tonight. So we are going to use the spoon and the knife and/or a palette knife. Okay? And I'm going to put out my very favorite patina color. Oh, I should run inside. I forgot my little list. I meant to get that. We'll start painting our backgrounds, and after I paint my background, I will see if I need to run in there and get it. So I am putting out some patina and some white. Yes, my background is white. My canvas is white, yes, but we want our entire canvas to be covered. So I dipped my brush in a little water just to get it all nice and get my fibers together and have it look decent. And now I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the blue, and then I'm going to pick up some white. And we're mixing the blue and the white. This is not a double load. This is just an easy way to do the background. And I'm going to start with outlining my chapel over here. And then you guys can see it much better. Now I'm going to keep, this is really bugging me, you guys. Is that better? Maybe that's better. I'm going to keep all my strokes going the same way for this background. You guys have seen me do plenty backgrounds where I'll do a crisscross in the back, or a sponge or a little swirl effect. No, with this one, I want it to be straight. I want all my brush strokes to go the same way. I'm not over blending my paint. I'm just picking up some white and some blue at the same time. If you have a different color blue, that's totally fine. We don't get hung up on colors here. I give you a list, and that's good enough for me. You do it your way. So I'm turned it upside down because I want to pull. I don't want to put my arms in the paint because, you know, I get a painty mess. I'm going to get a painty mess anyway. But this way, I can keep my strokes going vertically. I'm not crossing over what I already painted with my arm. And what's the difference if I turn my painting upside down? Right? Whatever works for you. If you prefer to paint on an easel, go right ahead and paint on an easel. I prefer not to paint on an easel unless I'm teaching and I need to be above everyone's head and they can see. So, but when I'm doing this and I have my overhead camera, it's all good. I don't need to have an easel. You guys can see just fine. I am going to, while I have my paints mixed on this brush, I'm going to paint my edges. Only to where the background is. I didn't go all the way down on this side because that's going to be white with the snow. I'm just painting the edges that attach to where the blue is on the front of the canvas. So I'm going to start here and work my way up. Okay. Okay, then we're going to let that dry a little bit, and we are going to paint our snow on the bottom. I have now washed my brush because I want to get some fresh white. I'm going to try and salvage my white pile that I didn't make a mess of. Some of it has blue, but there's a little fresh white on this side of it. So I'll poke at that until I think it's going to mess up. So I'm going to pull over here. I'm going to get some white, and I'm just going to go down here, and I'm going to, this is the first coat. When we come back and do the snow later, I'm going to actually put it on with the corner of my brush and make it a little thicker so you can see that it's snow. But for now, I'm just putting this on here on the bottom. Okay, it's going to be the first coat, but you'll see when we go back later. And I'm doing the edge again. We'll put out some fresh white because I don't want to start adding blue. So I'm just going to base coat the church now, the chapel. Okay? I'm going to start up here. If I pick up some blue, it's okay. I would get out my hairdryer if I so desired and make sure that my blue, see, just got some there. Not going to worry about it. So make sure that my blue was pretty much dry, but I'm okay. So I'm just going to define where my white is going to go for my church, my chapel. I guess we're calling it a chapel. And then I'm going to add in the white. And this is just the base coat, you guys. And I say this all the time. Your painting is going to go through stages. And you will see as we add the steps and add some layering with our steps, we start adding the details and more of the foreground. Your artwork really starts to come together. So if you're at this stage and you're like, ooh, I messed up over here, or oh, that line's not so straight, or whatever, don't fret. There is so much more that we need to paint on this project that we're not going to get worried about things like that. Okay? We're not going to get worried about the blue going into the white here because we're going to add outlines and whatnot. And then you're going to see it's all going to come together. And that little blue area that you got in your little white area there is not going to matter once you add the shading and the highlighting, because it's going to be all covered up. Now that we have all the base coat down, I'm going to show you what we can do with these things. So I'm going to put out a little bit of black, and you can use a dark brown for this if you like. But I'm going to put out a little bit of black and some of the gold. Okay. So, if you have a plastic knife or if you have a palette knife, either way, and I'm just going to pick up some of the paint. I'm just dabbing the point of the plastic knife up in there. You don't want to have too much paint on there. I got a little something from the plate. You don't have too much paint on it because you can always add. It's harder to take away, but you can always add. And now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to start scraping. I'm going to pick up a little bit more and I'm going to just start scraping with the knife. And then you can go up. And you want it thicker in some spots and thinner in some spots. That's totally fine. That is the beauty. You can hear it, right? That is the beauty of the scraping. Now, because I could switch to my palette knife now because I'm only trying to show you guys the technique, but I'm not gonna, because I want my painting to be universal. So I'm going to use the palette knife and the spoon on my whole art. So you can see how they all work and the different textures that they make. You might like the way the knife looks better than a palette knife. It's up to you. Now I like to even come on here on the edge and give it a little bit of right there. This one you have to go across the top. Can you see that? So it's almost like we're putting a border around it. And I'm going to come down this side too. Okay. And that is the gold. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not even going to clean my brush. I'm going to pick up some of the black. Not as much, but some. And I'm going to go in here. I'm going to start adding some black to it. You want to pick up a lot less black than you did the gold. And look at that cool background this gives you. If you have an area and you're like, ooh, way too much there, don't fret. Let it dry and go back over it with your blue and your white and start back over again. As long as you give it a few minutes to dry, you can come right back and fix it. So anyway, so that was the knife. So I'm going to just go stick it over here in my water. So now I'm going to show you the spoon. So you just want to dip the spoon, the back of the spoon, in the paint. And then you're just going to basically do the same thing. I put my finger in the, whatever, the spoon part of the spoon. And then I take it on an angle and I push. Dip the back of the spoon, take it by an angle, and I push. Now see the difference in the spoon texture than the knife texture? But pretty nonetheless, a little different, but still nice. A little thicker, but not too thick. And I just use my finger in there to press. I'm even gonna pick up a little white. Keeping my finger in there. Now I'm just pulling down some white. Isn't that cool? I just put my finger on there, but we're not going to worry about that. That's the beauty of doing this. So I'm going to get rid of that. And let me get something. I'm going to just get a piece of paper real quick. I know I'm all over the place tonight, aren't I? I like how this looks, so I don't want to touch it anymore. But I'm just going to show you a little bit of palette knife. So it's basically the same. So again, you want to put your finger here. You want to hold the palette knife flat to your surface, perpendicular on an angle, but make sure the edge of the palette knife you're using is flat, and then tilt it down and scrape. You really can't see that. Let me do the black. Okay? You want to hold it perpendicular. You want to angle it down. You want to keep your finger here for your pointer and scrape. The first time I had a little too much paint, but as you can see, when I got less and less paint, it does more of the skipping thing that we want it to do. I'll pick up some white here too. And you can make it, you can use your palette knife like this and do thick lines, and I'm just mixing my colors. Okay, this is something, a palette knife is something that takes, I'm not going to even say practice, takes playing. You want to play with a palette knife, you want to play with different colors, you want to play with the variety of colors and see how they mix with the palette knife. Now that we've added our distressed look to our background with our plastic eating utensils, I'm going to go in. I have my gold out. If you're using gold or yellow ochre, I'm going to go in and I'm going to add in the windows. Okay. And again, don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about the coverage. You can always come back and do a second coat. Obviously, this is a very rustic painting with our distressed background and our plastic picnic ware. And our imperfect lines because we didn't use a ruler. It's all good. So who So I'm going to go in there, I'm going to put a second coat now. I think it's dry enough. These metallic paints tend to be a little bit translucent. I don't necessarily need to have full coverage, but I want to have better coverage. So I'm just going in here and adding a little bit of a, I'm supposed to be in the teens. Get my liner brush now. I'm going to dip it in some water. I'm going to wipe it off. I dip my brushes in the water first because sometimes they can be, let me show you, rather unruly. See this one? It's a little crazy here. So it's easier. We dip it in water, we dry it off, we shape it up, and we don't have unruly hair. Yeah, could I dip this in the paint and just like start working it? Yeah, but it's easier. Just stick it in the water. And when we're using our liner brush, sometimes I will dip my brush in water and add a little bit to the liner, to the paint to thin it up a little bit too. Because we want our liner brush to move. We don't want it watery. We just want it a little thinner. So when I load my liner brush, I'm putting a little spin on it. Look at my thumb and my forefinger, my pointer. I'm putting a little spin on it because I want a nice point on there. Okay? And now I'm just going to start. I could put my hands down. I'm just going to start doing a little bit of outlining on my chapel. And this is part of the detail. This is part of the finishing that really makes it pop. This is when it all starts coming together. Now, if you are heavy-handed, I used to be extremely heavy-handed. It took me quite a long time to have a softer touch with my brush, and especially with the liner brush. So if you're like that and you want your lines to be thinner, just practice. Just sit with a little scrap paper and some paint and get a feel for how much pressure the brush needs to make thick lines or thin lines. I'm resting down my hand too. I don't want to rest it too much because my paint is still a little tacky, but I am resting my palm a little bit. And my lines are not perfect, but it's okay. They don't have to be. Sometimes I cross over the gold a little bit. Sometimes I get into the white a little bit. But once your painting is done and it all comes together, it's pretty and you're gonna love it. And you're gonna look at the whole thing and you're not gonna be 6 inches away, you know, scrutinizing, ooh, look at that. No, 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 no. We're not doing that. We're just enjoying the process of painting. Sometimes you can't go the whole way, so I'll start back up here and they will meet. And then these were the part of the original tracing lines under here. And I'm going to add those in. And then, like I said, we don't want our chapel to, our cross to grow on top of our chapel. But there we go. So look at that already, you guys. So I'm going to put my liner brush away for a little bit. And now I'm going to pick out my the flat I was using before again. And I'm just going to get a little bit of paint on the edge. So I'm pulling a little bit of paint out. I don't want the paint all the way up. I want my edge to be nice and flat. So I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on there so I get my edge nice and flat again. That's called the chisel edge. And we're going to go in here. We're going to add like a little bit of these rough lines to make it look like our chapel has some siding. And again, when I use my brush, I want to apply a little bit of pressure so my bristles stay nice and together and I'm just lightly pushing on it to get the illusion of siding. And now I'm just using the corner of the brush. Working my way down. Now you could use a liner brush for this, which I might do because these are a little narrow. But when I do this with the liner brush, I don't want a solid line. So I'm gonna like I'm skipping. So see how the original lines are not complete lines, but my liner lines are lines? Does that make sense? Lines, lines, lines. So now that I can't fit that big brush in here, I could use a little tiny brush like this. Or since I already have my liner brush out and it's wet, I'm going to use my liner brush. But I'm not going to pull a line. I'm going to dab. And I'm lining them up with the others. See? Pick up a little bit more paint. And again, I'm just dabbing, trying to eyeball it in these little spots here. So, so anyway, we're going back to our snow. I have my white, I have this little flat that I was using before. I'm just going to pick up a decent amount, and I'm going to go back in here, and I'm just pouncing so it makes it look a little bit textured like snow, and bringing it up the building a little bit. It doesn't have to be a straight line. And I'm just working it around. Across the bottom here. And I'm actually waiting for up there to dry because I'm going to show you we're going to add a little bit of snow to the roof peaks too. Pick up some of that too over there. And I'm taking this line. It wasn't a real harsh line, but I'm still adding a little bit more of the white to it. And putting the paint on like this, a little thick, makes it look a little 3D and a little bit more snowy there. Okay? Let me see, I'll show you guys. See that? And then we're going to do the same thing up here. I need a little bit more white. I love teaching. I love sharing art from my heart. Again, I picked up a little bit of paint, and I really can't. So I have picked up quite a bit of paint on the corner of my brush here. Well, on the whole thing, really. And the same thing we did on the bottom. I'm just going in, and I'm dabbing up here on the roof eave to add snow. Maybe we even put a little bit up here on the cross, and then coming down here on this side of the roof. And it's not even. See that? It's a little all over the place. And then the same thing on this side. And I'm just little taps. Every once in a while I'll flatten out my brush and then I'll dip the corner back in to the paint. Okay. Oh, and then one last thing, because it is a doorknob, I'm going to use the back of my liner brush. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the black paint and I'm going to put a little doorknob on there. And there we have it.